Hi everyone, this is Crazyhouse here, back with more reviews, rants, and whatnot. So today I wanted to talk about another ginned up controversy on social media where you have a lot of fandom out there complaining about the brand new game called Genshin Impact. And they're upset because I guess there's no characters of color. It's just a bunch of characters or fantasy characters that look mostly white or just typical of what you see in normal fantasy animes out there. And I guess there's a little bit of complaints of sexism as well. So we're going to talk about that today, folks. But before we get to that, let me do my little plug here for my online store. If you want to buy the Crazyhouse products, all you got to do is go to my online store at the Crazyhouse Store Envy. And we got my comic books, my coloring books, my stickers, and posters, and even my graphic novel as well, The Chronicles of PA. You can get all that there at my Crazyhouse online store. If you want to buy my coloring books, you can get them on my store, or you can also get them on Amazon.com. I will post the links for all of my online stores and my Amazon store in the description box as well as the comments section. Also, if you want to support the channel, go ahead and become a Patreon of Crazyhouse. Special thanks to the Patreons that I have so far. I very much appreciate you. Thank you so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the new coloring pages that I've uploaded and the new desktop art that I've uploaded as well. That creature design that I did on last Thursday's drawing video will be some background art that you can download for your phone or for the background of your computer or your laptop. So you can get that once you become a Patreon of Crazyhouse. Only $5 a month, and it helps me out with my work, but it also gives you something in return. So now that I've got that all out of the way, folks, let's talk about Genshin Impact. So I've actually known about the creation of this game. I followed it for probably, I want to say 2 years at least, because I remember when it was still in its infant stages, and I was just looking at some of the character designs. I mean, they advertised the heck out of it, but I guess you have to be a person who's into, the creation of these types of RPG games. So, I've been up on it for a while now, and now I think it's come to the PlayStation, and I guess because of that, now people are starting to complain about it. Like I said, I think that it's a very small minority of people who are complaining, but we all know that sometimes the minority of complainers can be very vocal and very loud, and if you ask my opinion, extremely ignorant as well. Because, looking at this game, other than some of the character designs and maybe some of the gameplay, it doesn't really seem that original to me. It's just it seems like something that someone will want to play if you're just into these type of RPG type games. Like, you got to be into this sort of genre to even appreciate it. But I really don't see any difference between this and, Grand Blue Fantasy or Final Fantasy Tactics or any other games like that. Okay, there's a ton of these types of games, but like I said, if you're into them, this is pretty much the style that you're going to get. You're going to get characters who look like this. I mean, what I love about these games is the costume design. That's pretty much what I look at these games for anyway, if there's going to be any type of original character or costume design. And I like to download that artwork and kind of just look through it and add it to my own repertoire. And if I can find any of the actual design books, I will purchase them and keep them in my bookshelf in my library for character references later on. Because I do appreciate the character designs and the costume designs that these artists put into their work. But as far as the characters go themselves, a lot of them can be very generic. I mean, that's the whole point of an RPG anyway. You're kind of imposing and putting yourself onto these characters, you know what I mean? So they have to be kind of generic so you can kind of get into being that character yourself. And it's even better if the game allows you to customize your character with different items or different clothings or different settings later on. But, I really don't see what the big deal is, because as far as I'm concerned, as far from what I've seen and what I've looked at with Genshin Impact, It wasn't like they announced that this was going to be some sort of multicultural new wave of RPG, to begin with. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they said we're going to do something different. They just said we're going to create this type of game, and it's going to be our version of it, and it's going to be fun. That's it. It is what it's advertised to be. So I don't see where you get off thinking that this was going to be some bastion of political correctness and multiculturalism. All right? We all know that a lot of these anime characters, especially the more generic ones, I should say, look like white people. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, a lot of these RPGs are based off of European fantasies anyway. So they're going to have that look. And I know that there are some people who would disagree with that, anime characters are actually white people, and even though it's created by the Japanese. But I think what that is, I think that's more of a marketing strategy. I don't think that's so much. There might be a little self-hate involved there, but I think that's more of a marketing strategy, because you notice the anime that looks like that is the kind that makes it over here, or that is mass marketed to the rest of the world. There is anime out there with characters that look more Japanese, and you notice that stuff usually stays in Japan, unless you're a hardcore fan like me, or someone who can, shoot over to the auction or the little outside markets and find the bootleg version of that type of anime. You're just kind of out of luck, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm into that type of anime. I like it when the characters look more like Japanese people, or it's more like a slice of life of what goes on in Japan. But, a lot of people don't like that. A lot of the hardcore anime fandom want their characters to look white. That's what we had that discussion the other day, where I talked about, how they don't want black people within the fandom. That's what they like about it. They like that these characters look more white and that they're more European looking. That's what draws them in. And that's why they feel that people who have dark skin or who are just black or African shouldn't even be in there. They don't like that at all, right? So, I don't see what the big deal is. My whole thing is, from an artist standpoint, you can look at this stuff and enjoy it just on the merits of what it is. If you don't like this type of content, then don't look at it or don't buy it. You know what I mean? There's plenty of African fantasy and RPGs out there now, and there's more coming out as time goes on. There's a lot of studios opening up on the continent of Africa, okay, and even ones here within the United States and Canada and South America and everywhere. My graphic novel, The Chronicles of PA, did very well in South America, so that means there's an audience for it out there, right? So instead of whining about why Genshin Impact doesn't have any black characters or dark-skinned characters, why not just go out there and support something that has created these types of RPGs that you want to see? You see what I'm saying? Just within like a short Google search, I found like 3 different developments for African RPGs out there, whether it be Wagadu. There's one that's already out called Orion that's been out since at least 2012 that you can purchase on Steam and some other platforms. So, why not go pick that up? There's another one that's coming out called Swords Fall, another African RPG. What was the other one that, this one was more of like a futuristic one that I saw called Proto Droid Delta, which is a game that's been in development for a while now as well. I actually supported it when it was just a Kickstarter, and it was, one of those Kickstarters that got support very fast and got a whole bunch of money, and they're working on the game now. I think they've done some beta versions already that you guys can go check out. But that game I'm very much looking forward to, especially since it's a game that I supported financially. But, there's plenty of stuff out there. You just gotta, make the effort to search for it, right? And a lot of these things now where there's a little bit more democracy, it's kind of like the beginning of the game revolution back in the 80s, where now even smaller independent developers can get in on the action and still get their games published to mainstream sources, like I said, like Steam or others out there. So if you want to see something that doesn't look like Genshin Impact, then why don't you just go ahead and support one of these games, or when they're in their Kickstarter phase, or they're just trying to get funding, that's when you support these things so they can get out there. Instead of whining about Genshin Impact, why'd you buy it? It's not like I said, you can look at the box cover and know what it's all about. But why buy it and then whine about it not being this multicultural thing? You knew what it was going to be about when you bought it, right? You knew what kind of characters you were going to get when you bought it. So instead of complaining, there's a more progressive way to deal with these things, right? So you folks let me know how you feel about it in the comments section. I very much like to hear your opinion. If you bought Genshin Impact and you just feel that they jinxed you or they tricked you somehow when you looked at the cover and saw these European fantasy type characters, and you were just expecting to see some hardcore blaxploitation characters in the game, you thought you've been tricked, let me know in the comments section. Or otherwise, if you bought the game and it is what it is, you knew what you were getting when you bought it, and you don't feel like whining on Twitter or Twitch about a game being exactly what you thought it was going to be. Anyway, you guys let me know how you feel about it. Chris Crazyhouse signing out. Peace.